speak. So we always thankful to Allah, highly glorified is He. And He teaches in the Quran, for those who are grateful, He says, and if you are grateful, I will give you more. See, I love that verse. The fair exchange, He says that if you show appreciation, He'll allow more to flow into your life. You have a lot of human beings, a lot of people that are just not grateful. They're very ungrateful. Not just ungrateful to people, but they're ungrateful to Allah. In fact, there's a verse in the Quran where Allah said that the human being calls on Him in all kind of difficulty. They're in the storm, they're on the ship, and the winds are gushing. And they beg out, oh Allah, please help me, help to restore me, let me get to safety. And when they get to land, they forget about Allah. And that's most people. They get caught up into a situation, they beg to Allah, oh Allah, please help me. In fact, I'll never do it again. I know you know that because many of us have done that. And then when we get the breakthrough, when Allah pulls us through, we show no appreciation. So He says as a reminder that He loves those, who are appreciative. See, that's the motivation for me. He says that you want to be in the company of those who Allah loves. He says show gratitude. And the whole idea of gratitude, appreciation, is if you have anything of value. If any of you may own a home, if you take care of this home, and you treat this home right, you put a roof on it, you give it nice upkeep, baller, everything is nice. Over time, that house, what they call, it appreciates. The house grows in value because you've been managing and taking care of the house. So Allah says that when you show gratitude to Him, it's just like that. He will allow you to grow, not just financially. He'll allow you to grow in opportunity. He'll allow you to grow in intellectual power. He'll allow you to grow in relationships. More of His gifts will flow into your life. He says, if you're grateful, I will give you more. Now, if you want more in life, just show gratitude to the one who has given you everything you have. And then He says also in the same verse, and if you are ungrateful, my punishment is severe. Why should you give to those who show no appreciation? Now, when you have a relationship with people, family members, friends, spouse, with people, and you do for them, and they show no appreciation for what you do, it doesn't excite you. Now, the next time you may consider holding back from giving because they showed you no appreciation for what you extended to them. So Allah said, and if you are ungrateful, my punishment is severe. See, Allah is heavy into the ideal of showing appreciation, of the human being showing Him appreciation for what He has and is doing right now for you. See, some people think about what Allah done for you, but He is doing for you right now as you breathe in the oxygen that He put on this planet called Earth. He's doing for you right now. So He said, if you show Him the gratitude, He will allow more to flow into your life. I will give you more. That's what He says. He says, I will give you more. So if you want more in your life, show some appreciation to Allah. And He will bless you. In fact, He said the promise of Allah to those who believe good, to those who believe and do good, is forgiveness and a mighty reward. See, Allah said that is His promise to those who put some effort into the process. When you put the work in, Allah says that He's going to not only reward you, but He's going to forgive you of your sins. Don't you want to be forgiven? Now He says when you do good, He's going to release you from the burden of guilt, shame, and the wrong you've done. And then in addition to forgiving you, releasing you, He said He's going to give you a mighty reward. Oh, that's a blessing right there. He said He loves the muhsineen. See, the muhsineen are those who are motivated to do good. They're motivated to do good because they understand that without the good, the society goes down. And then they know that when they do good, it does something for their own soul. So they're willing to do good so it benefits them and it benefits the world. So Allah says, a promise. Here's an assurance of what's coming down the road. That's what a promise is. A promise is this assurity that over time, here's what's coming to me. And as you read the Quran, Allah said, verily, Allah never fails in his promise. And then you read another verse of the Quran where Allah says, verily, the promise of Allah is true. And as we read the Quran, we look at creation, and as I share information with you, see, one thing I understand, and as I read the Quran, I look into creation, because I don't intend to always speak before you and give you something new. Because I understand that human beings learn through repetition. That's why you read the Quran, you read a verse, I just read that. Because Allah wants to strengthen you with that principle. So over and over again throughout the Quran in different ways, he says that he's the one who is promised is strong. Verily, the promise of Allah is true. He says of a surety that the muhsineen, those who are driven to do good, he's going to forgive them and give them not a small reward. The verse says that he will give them a mighty reward. See, that's something that's big. He's going to reward you abundantly. See, that's what should motivate you to want to do the work of Allah. Because when you understand who you are, and that's a major problem in the world, is people are looking for, who am I? All the great philosophers ask the question of, who am I? Because without that, you are moving in all kinds of directions, looking for and searching for, who am I? And other people will give you names, they'll give you an identity. They will tell you this is who you are. They give you limiting names. They give you identities and names that limit your progress. Names and identities that lock you up. In fact, some people will take on the idea of the identity of actually being a slave and don't even realize it. So in the Quran, Allah says, as you talk about what's the name and who are you, he says, and he named you Muslim. That's powerful. He says, and he named you Muslim. What does that mean? When you understand what a Muslim is, yes, the Muslim is one who submits his will to the will of Allah. That's a very, very fundamental meaning of a Muslim. Because when you think of the ideal of a Muslim as one who just submits his will, it becomes personal. But the work of a Muslim goes beyond himself, because the very stage of Muslim is the fundamental process of his development. Imam Muhammad said Muslim is the major discipline. The major discipline for maintaining and advancing life. I don't care what you involve in. If you don't have discipline, you don't grow. If you lack discipline, then you're vulnerable to be moved by the winds of emotions. See, if you lack discipline, you'll be here today, and tomorrow you're somewhere else. See, those who believe understand that they must have structure in their life. They have to be like Allah said, he placed you in the earth to grow like a plant. And when he placed you in the earth and you put the seed in the earth, the first thing that the seed does as it comes out the shell, it releases the power, the transformative power inside that shell that contains the life. When it's placed in the right environment, it doesn't grow up first. That life first gets rooted in something. So as the seed bursts open, the life comes forth, the life goes down into the soil. It has to have some stability. If it lacks stability, then it's easily moved. It has to get the roots deep in the soil. So the high tree that you see goes up, the roots are deep. So when you lack the discipline, he said Muslim is the major discipline for maintaining your life. If you lack discipline, you're vulnerable for the schemes of Shaitan. And the whole mission of Shaitan is to choke the life out of you. Allah makes it very clear in the Quran that Shaitan is the enemy to the human being. We're going to get to that verse. He talks about how do we treat Shaitan. But he said he named you Muslims, that you have the discipline. And it has been reported that the greatest trick Shaitan ever pulled on the human being was in convincing that human being that he doesn't even exist. I hope you got that now. The greatest scheme Shaitan pulled on the human being was in getting that human being to accept the idea that the devil doesn't even exist. And they say this is normal living. All of this perversion, altering of the creation is normal living. That's why Allah said, and let there be no change in the work that has been established by Allah. And then you have those who go into the laboratory because they don't understand what they're doing. They go into the laboratory and they work to alter the creation and work to turn a woman into a man. And then work to change a man into a woman. And people accept this as being normal. These are new days. This is what they call the ideal of a new normal. This is something new, man. We got to get into what's happening. See? And a lot of people ain't up on what's new. That's why you have to have, with your knowledge, there has to be something to check the knowledge. If you don't have anything to check the knowledge, then the knowledge begin to work against you in the world. Then that very knowledge that's designed to elevate you will then in a very adverse way work to destroy you. Because the very purpose and the very nature of knowledge is coming from Allah is to elevate the humanity. But if you lack the discipline with the knowledge, then that knowledge will work against you towards your decline. So the verse that Allah said, and he named you Muslim. It's the major discipline. And I don't care what you're involved in. If you lack discipline, your progress is limited. So Allah said the name he gave you is the name that's expansive. Because the name gives you the very foundation you need to grow. You must have discipline to advance your life. Because if you don't have the discipline, believe me, Shaitan is working on you. On all different levels. We want to talk about Shaitan, but Allah said, first of all, he tells us about his promise. So we need knowledge. We need knowledge because we know what knowledge is going to do for our own development. Here's a verse I love where Allah talks about how we work with his creation. First, we know that Allah himself is Al-Alim. He is the all-knowing. And with all the knowledge that he contains, he allows his servants access to the knowledge. And then he also says that he is Rabb. He is Rabbil Alameen. He is the evolver of the knowledge. Because the knowledge is essential for the elevation of the world, America and the entire world. So that means that we have to become environmentally conscious. of the workings of the world. If we're not environmentally conscious of how the world is operating, then the world is going to become a threat to our own progress. Here's the verse in the Quran where Allah says, verily, we talked about this verse before, it said, verily the creation of the heavens and the earth is greater than the creation of man, but most people are not knowledgeable of this. They're not even aware of this. They're not even aware of how powerful the earth is in terms of providing us what we need for our development. We talked before that everything you find, heaven and earth, is in your body. Zinc, copper, rain, all the minerals that's in your body. That's why you go back to the earth. So we have to become more environmentally astute of how all of this creation is designed by Allah to work and foster our development. So we have to read, not read a physical book, but we have to read the environment. We have to understand ecology. We have to understand how the environment influences and shapes everything. He says, verily, the creation of the heavens and the earth is a greater matter than the creation of man. I had to think about that verse when I first read it. Because I had the idea that man was the greatest force in creation. He is the ruler and the master in the entire creation. But Allah said, yes, he's the Khalifa, but he says, the sun is a greater matter than you. Why is that? Because you can't live without the sun. See, the sun is not dependent upon you. You are dependent upon the sun. All that oxygen that moves in the creation, it's not dependent upon you. You are dependent on oxygen. So Allah said the creation of the heavens and earth is a greater matter than the creation of man. But most people are not knowledgeable of that. They're just not aware of the potency of the environment. That's why people are heavy into the environment, they're into the earth, they're into ecology, they're into understanding the relationship with the human being and the earth. In fact, there's a new research, there's a new science what they call earthing. Earthing and grounding. And earthing and grounding is about everything. You do it naturally. When you go out into the woods, you go out into the soil and you put your bare feet on the soil. The earth itself is a big plane of energy. And when you step on the bare feet on the soil, the electricity of the soil goes into your body. That's why people feel better when they go out into the woods. I'm in touch with nature. And that nature is doing something for my soul, for my spirit. So when I put my body on the ground, not the concrete, see, that's the problem. You're going into an unnatural environment. That's why you find city life is real tough, because in city life it's cold is because of the asphalt, the concrete. You go out there in the woods, people want to have fun. You go out there in the sand on the beach, they want to have fun. They're in touch with this, where Allah said the heavens and the earth is a greater matter. It is doing something for their own makeup, for their soul. They're in touch with nature. They understand that they have a relationship with the earth. They have a relationship with heaven, what is above, and all of that life that goes into their body. So we have to be environmentally knowledgeable, aware of the environment and what the environment does to foster this life. So Allah says that He is the teacher. Knowledge. The verse said most people are not knowledgeable of this. You have a lot of people who are just uninformed. Even those who surf the internet, they're misinformed. There's all kind of lies and misinformation. I hear people talking, what are you talking about? You got misinformation. Don't think that you're going to get truth where everybody is putting out information. Where everybody got a platform to just talk and post stuff, you get a bunch of lives. And I hear people ask, what are you talking about? That makes no sense. You haven't referenced anything you just said. You just heard it, read it, and you talk about it. Knowledge is necessary for the elevation of the world. Prophet Muhammad said that knowledge is the lost property of the believer. And wherever he finds the knowledge, he or she, they have a right to it. You have to be like a scientist. See, if something is lost, you're looking to find it. It's a lost property. It's yours. See, Allah says the knowledge is for you. It's lost. You got to find it. That's why you find a lost and found. I lost my sweater, and I'm looking for it. Allah says that knowledge through Muhammad the Prophet is the lost property. It belongs to you. And wherever you find it, you got a right to claim that knowledge. Because Allah put that knowledge in existence for your elevation. The very first revelation itself began with the process of what? Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Read in the name of your evolver. See, here's the elevation. The one who's allowing you to move from smallness to bigness, from fear to courage, from darkness into enlightenment, from weakness to strength. He's the one that's allowing you to transition from the smallness to greatness. So it says, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Now Allah didn't introduce himself to the world as Allah. He introduced himself to the world as the evolver, as Rabb. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. First revelation, read Muhammad. Without it, that's how slaves are made. And that's the mission of Shaitan, is to make slaves. His whole mission is to destroy your life. Allah says he is the enemy to man. And he talks in the Quran about he makes a promise. But he said, Allah made a promise to you in truth, and I promise you also. But I failed in my promise. Shaitan can't promise you nothing of a surety. Because his whole mission is built on lies, deceit, and seduction. So I said you have to become more environmentally astute. The workings of the environment and how that environment is shaping people. If those people are not aware of what they're doing, they will become friends of the devil. That's how Allah says in the Quran, the friends of the devil. And then they become an enemy to the progress of man. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَإِنْ كَانَ أَثْمًا. So we talked about the promise. The promise of Allah to those who believe. And there's another verse in the Quran where Allah talks about his promise, how he keeps his promise, and then how we have to be conscious of Shaitan. Very interesting verse here. And the verse reads, O human being, certainly the promise of Allah is true. Let not then this present life deceive you, nor let the chief deceiver deceive you about Allah. He says to make a promise to you, and that you have to be aware of your environment, the things you have, the things that you may be attached to. That's why when we make this declaration of faith, we make it very, very clear that there's no ilah. You say, La ilaha illallah, there's no ilah, there's no being, there's no force, there's no power, there's no car, there's no clothes, there's no money, there's no person that is worthy of your bond, of your loyalty, of your commitment other than Allah. See, that right there declaration, when we say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, it is the declaration of freedom. Because see, Shaitan wants to put you in bondage. And when you're in bondage, you will never realize your true potential. In order for you to realize your true potential, you must be free to express that potential. That's why Allah said, verily, oppression is worse than slaughter. Oppression is worse. Wearing a human being down, not allow that life to come forth, is worse than killing that human being. Because when the human being has been killed, the life is gone. But when the human being is oppressed, that life, that human being that's full of life, potential, and power is weighed down, not given access to express all the gifts Allah put in their body. So he said that's a great disservice to humanity. He says oppression is worse than slaughter. Okay, so the verse goes on to say, and let not then the present life deceive you, nor let the chief deceiver deceive you about Allah. See, that's the mission of Shaitan, to deceive you, to make you lose interest in Allah. All these other things are more important. I had these commitments with other things and other people that have no commitment with Allah. I don't want to give my life to Allah. I don't want to do Allah's work. I want to do the work of other people. I want to please other people instead of pleasing Allah, who's going to allow me to grow, evolve, and make an impact in the world. So he said, and let not this present life deceive you, nor let the chief deceiver deceive you about Allah. Verily, see, the chief deceiver is Shaitan. It goes on to say, talking about Shaitan, Allah said, verily, Satan is an enemy to man. In fact, he said, Shaitan speaking to you. He said, verily, Shaitan is an enemy to you. That's your enemy, who's working to rob you of your life, to keep you spiritually in captivity, to keep you in economic captivity, to lock you up financially, also to lock your mind up, to lock your spirit up. You become spiritually enslaved. Allah says Shaitan is an enemy to man. And then he goes on to say, because he's an enemy, so treat him as an enemy. That's powerful right there. So you play games with your enemy. You become friends and close with your enemy. Allah said he's your enemy, and he tells you the way you treat your enemy is you treat him like he's an enemy. Why? Because he only invites his adherents that they may become companions of the blazing fire. So I remember a time when they talked about Shaitan. They talked about the devil. In fact, they would tell you, the devil made me do it. They talked about the devil. They ain't got so-called highly advanced. Devil ain't got nothing to do with this. This is just how life is. And then when you start accepting that this is how life is, you'll miss the ideal and the fact that you have an enemy who's working to destroy your life. I love the hadith where Muhammad the Prophet said that Shaitan flows through the human body like blood. You know what that means? Blood right now is circulating all throughout your body. But unless you have some kind of blockage, you don't feel it. Your heart is pumping blood constantly, and you don't feel it. Those influences of the Shaitan coming from the television, coming from the internet, coming from the radio, all those influences on the ads, in the magazines, on the television, all those influences are working and you can't even feel it. And then you wonder, how did I get here? How did I get like this? What happened? Those influences of Shaitan are working in you and you can't even detect it because you're not conscious enough. That's why we talked before about you got to get knowledge. You have to become environmentally astute. You have to become aware of your environment and the workings in your environment so you can see how those influences are working to shape you. Because you got a destiny. Allah says in the Quran, He created everything and he gave it a destiny. God, they gave it a destiny. It has a starting point and there's an ending point. And you're on this journey called life. Between that starting point and ending point, here are those experiences. Moving towards your destiny. Let's move right along so we can close out. Here's the verse I want to read where Shaitan talks about his promise. We're talking about the promise of Allah and what Allah said he is going to do for the believers, those who are committed to do his work. Here's what Shaitan says. In the Quran it says here, it said that when the matter is decided, here's what Shaitan going to say when the matter is decided. Shaitan says, when the matter is decided, and Satan will say, when the matter is decided, it was Allah who gave you a promise of truth. I too promised you, but I failed in my promise. So don't blame me, blame yourself. See, this is the conversation that Shaitan has had with man. I don't have no power over you. I only make these suggestions. That's why Allah talks about Shaitan whispers into the hearts of men and jinn. He whispers, I have no power. I called and you came. And as a result of the condition of your life, don't blame me, blame yourself. You have to be responsible. That's why you have to be environmentally astute. You have to be aware of the workings in your environment so you can see where you're moving at. Without this knowledge, you're vulnerable for the schemes of Shaitan. Shaitan is working hard. Let me give you one more verse. Because Allah tells us how to look at the devil. But I'm telling you, when you start looking at the conditions in society, the lack of respect for senior citizens, the disrespect for women, child abuse. See, this is Shaitan working to make you unnatural. Because I taught you several times, I mentioned to you, I said that the mission of the devil is to take the human being out of the human body. Do you know what that means? Here's a human form, here's a vessel. And Allah has put love into that vessel. Allah has put intelligence in that vessel. Allah has put sensitivities in this body. He's put a heart. He's put love. He's put charity in your spirit. But the mission of Shaitan is to take all of that out and to make you cold and sensitive, callous. You have no feelings for anybody. You beat an old lady like you're beating on a man that did you wrong. So the mission of Shaitan is to take the human being out of the human body and to put his influences in your life. And then you are driven for self-destruction. Because Allah said he's your enemy, so treat him as your enemy. So here's the verse where Allah talks again about Shaitan. He said, O children of Adam, talking about you and I, we're the sons and daughters of Adam. Let not Shaitan seduce you in the same manner as he got your parents out of the garden, stripping them of their raiment to expose their shame. For he and his tribe watches you from a position where you can't see. I hope you got that. Allah said, here's a tribe, here's a group of people, here are influences, there's an ideal, there's a philosophy, there's a leader, they have shared concerns. Here's a tribe. They're coming together. But Allah said, this tribe watches you from places you can't even see. He said they come through your television. They come through all the cameras. They watch you from places you can't see. Watch you in your home. Allah says he's the tribe of people. I'm not talking about no spooks. Tribe. They watch you, they got eyes, they can see. And he said they watch you from a position where you can't see. See, they see you, but you don't see them. Allah said, this is the workings of shaitan. And he works to strip you of your protection. So Allah says, وَاتَّقُوا and be conscious of Allah. وَاتَّقُوا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ and be conscious of Allah that you may prosper. See, when you're conscious of Allah, you prosper. The mission of the devil is for you to fail. His mission is not for you to prosper. So Allah said the promise of those who believe and do good, he said, here's the promise that he will forgive them and give them a mighty reward. ربنا اتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. Peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala falah.